With the recent Wuthering Waves 3.5 livestream, while we got to see plenty of fascinating things about mengzhou and shuangfang, we barely got any screen time of one of the most anticipated characters on the region, being the Sentinel Sin. While I have talked about Sin already in prior videos, I thought that since everyone is very eager to learn more about her, that I'd compile and discuss the symbolism, both confirmed and potential, of her design. We'll be splitting this video into a couple of parts, first talking about how the 7 Sentinels of Huanglong play into real Chinese mythology, before going and discussing fox spirits in Chinese culture, and finally, potential links to figures such as Wuthering. So, without any further ado, let's get started. The 7 Sentinels of Huanglong, of which we know 3, Fang, the solar hare, Jue, the wood Jiaolong, and of course the subject of today's video, Sin, the moon fox, are confirmed to comprise of a certain group in Chinese mythology, the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon, or Qianlong. In ancient China, astrologers observed how it took around 28 days for the moon to rotate around the Earth, and as such believed that the moon resided on Earth in a mansion every night, hence the Chinese astrology system of the 28 mansions. This was further subdivided into the 4 cardinal directions: north, east, south, and west, which were all represented by a mythical beast and their palace. This was meant to represent a constellation and star chart, with each of the 7 mansions representing a body part of their palace, in this case, the Azure Dragon. You can actually also associate elements and animals to each of these 28 mansions in a graph, which gives us the full list and names of what Huanglong's 7 Sentinels are going to be: Jue, the wood Jiaolong; Kang, the metal dragon; Di, the earth badger; Fang, the solar hare; Sin, the moon fox; Wei, the fire tiger; and Ji, the water leopard. Considering that the 3 sentinels we've gotten are a perfect match, especially since Kuro in the 3.5 stream explicitly called Sin the moon fox, this is only further confirmation that Huanglong Sentinels are operating on this Chinese mythological system. So, now you know the mythological basis of what Sin is based on, and why exactly she is a moon fox. Now we can get into the juicy bits, what she may be based on as a sort of fox spirit. However, before we continue, I want to point you quickly towards Chun-Li. When we first saw her story, it was actually mentioned that she combined many aspects of Chinese firebirds, the Fenghuang, the vermilion bird, and the phoenix, together to form her powers and character. I actually think that Sin may be a similar case. It's basically confirmed she is a moon fox, but I think she may also take a lot of inspiration from many different parts of Chinese culture and mythology. Primary among these, of course, is the Hulijing, or in other words, simply Chinese fox spirits. If you, for instance, recognize the Japanese kitsune or Korean gumiho, this is actually what they were originally based on. Now, Hulijing, which usually, but not always, have 9 tails, are both at times a good and bad omen. While the Hulijing was seen as sometimes hunting and eating humans, hence the wider Asian trend of fox people eating your liver and stuff, Chinese fox spirits could also be blessings of good fortune, symbolizing peace, prosperity, and good health. They were quite ambiguous creatures, and that molds into one of their key abilities, being shape-shifting. By growing older and sort of absorbing the essence of the universe, they would unlock this ability which they could use for a lot of things, getting closer with people, tricking them, etc. This is the most likely reason why, for instance, Sin is capable of shapeshifting into a human figure, while it seems like all the other Sentinels could not. As a Hulijing grows older and more powerful, shapeshifting just comes as a kind of natural ability to them. Now that we've established what Chinese fox spirits generally are, we can start talking about Sin herself, who we know from the lore is rather playful and mischievous, like what you'd expect a fox spirit to be. However, she also seems very powerful, considering that she is not only a sentinel, but that the 3.5 livestream said she directly created the auto-puppets that allow Xuanfang to function. Additionally, her line in the drip marketing, clear moonlight drapes over the lonely keep is very ominous. The moonlight may be a link to Sin herself as a moon fox, but the lonely keep in Chinese culture has always connoted a kind of cut off and isolated fort or town facing attacks and a desperate situation. For example, a Song of Liangzhou by Wang Zihuan describes a border fortress that is under constant attack. Yet, despite the terrible situation, they still cling on and hold their position. So, based on the situation that Xuanfang and Xin is facing, I think that she is most likely not just a mischievous character, but one that may be rather jaded, having to have made hard decisions in ruling over and protecting her people. So, while many people saw that Sin may be based on the evil fox spirit Daji from the old Chinese book Investigation of the Gods, I have a bit of a hard time believing that Sin is really an inherently evil character, so I don't think that this is actually the case. With this in mind, I think that there is, however, a Chinese novel published in the Qing dynasty that Sin's character may be more likely based on, named Flowers in the Mirror or Jinghuayang. This novel is special as it tells a story of the only empress in Chinese history, Wuthering, being none other than a reincarnation of a fox spirit. What's special about this book is that unlike other stories like Daji from Investigation of the Gods, this fox spirit is specifically and none other than the moon heart fox from the Seven Mansions of the Azure Dragon, who we know is Sin. Throughout the book, Wuthering, or Sin in extension, is depicted in many of the same ways we now see her historical counterparts. She's wise, capable, and incredibly cunning. All the things you would expect from a fox spirit. However, one aspect from history still remains in the book, in that Wu Zetian is often portrayed as an oppressive ruler. So she was a very competent tyrant, but a tyrant nonetheless. When we link the depiction of Wu Zetian from Jinghuayang to what Hsin represents as the Heart Moon Fox, it actually makes quite a bit of sense. As the heart of the Azure Dragon, she is mischievous, emotional, and willful, but also, quite importantly, cunning and shrewd. All qualities which makes an awful lot of sense when we think about why she is often connected to Wu Zetian, especially since Sin in Wuthering Waves also appears as a ruler and de facto queen of a city. So what could this mean for Wuthering Waves? Of course, we know that Sin is oftentimes mischievous and cunning, probably also charming, since she seems to be based on Wu Lijing and all that. But I think, interestingly, there is a darker side to her character. Given what we talked about with the Lonely Keep in Chinese culture, as well as the dangers we know are assailing mengzhou and Xuanfang already from the 3.5 stream, I predict that perhaps Sin may be a little bit autocratic, maybe in some small part a tyrant. After all, such things are probably necessary for controlling and maintaining such a tenuous border town for so long. In the tiny amount of screen time that Sin got, we even saw her laying down by paper lanterns, which, in Chinese culture, symbolize letting go, whether that is past attachments, regrets, or even spirits of those who have passed. Something fishy is definitely going on, and it may be that this fox is not as sweet as she seems. But what do you think? We'll see how Xuanfang and Mengzhou shapes up to be, but it already feels like it's going to be a very long wait for something that feels just in front of our noses. As always, if you want to support me, feel free to subscribe, become a channel member, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. I hope you all have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you all in the next one.